Let's welcome Yagneshkumar, Tailor. He's a lead software architect, security at Tietoevry, a visionary expert in shaping secure digital landscapes. With deep expertise in cybersecurity, Yagnesh has been at the forefront of designing robust security architectures that safeguard organization in the ever-evolving technological world. So let's give it up for Yagneshkumar. Over to you.
Yeah. Thanks, Parniti. So, yeah. Hello, everyone. Myself, Yagnesh, and I'll be taking you, or I'll say continue some dots that we have just now with Siddhant, and we'll be going forward in some ethical practices in the world of cybersecurity and what is the world tomorrow will be, and what are the challenges that we may face. So, but yeah, before that, some quick information about myself. So yeah, myself Yagneshkumar Tailor, and I'm working with Tietoevry Care since more than now 10 years. And overall, I have over 17 plus years of experience in the field of IT. And yeah, that's very much. So yeah, without taking much time. So yes, we will be navigating through these different points: evolving workspace, cybersecurity challenges, ethical considerations, ethical cybersecurity practices, future of work and cybersecurity, and conclusions and takeaway. So yeah, let's get into the show. So evolving workspace. Many of you may already guess what is it all about, but then maybe I'll just connect the dot. So basically, with remote work after COVID, lot of things, a lot of us are working in hybrid. Some of are working from home, some of are working from mountains, beach, and a lot of stuff, right? With flexibility, there comes certain challenges uh, that we have to think basically. For example, uh, many of you may not hesitate when you are on the airport or you are on railway station or some other mode of transport, does not matter, to use the charging cable that was there to charge your cell phones maybe. Now, uh, you may have heard about juice jacking. What is that? Anyone? You can put it in the chat. We'll read it up. But it's like as soon as you connect your phone, it is possible that I can get all your data. I can totally controls your phone while you connect them to a compromised charging station. And the compromised charging station does not need to have so much of technology to achieve that. It's just the cable that is hardly costing 200, 300 rupees. By that, I can achieve that goal. So it's so easy to get compromised if you don't pay attention. Now, while we are working in the remote locations and accessing our company's laptops at different spots, we many times don't hesitate to connect to a Wi-Fi that is available over the airport or in the hotels maybe or in the cafe. Many of you, or I'll say you must pay a very good attention when it comes to Wi-Fi. One, it should be secure, or I'll say it must be secure. Second, do monitor the traffic that is going on. Uh, I would like to share one example that happened with one of my friend very recently when he visited one of the hotel nearby Pune, and the incident is actually alarming for me. Basically, he was in one of the hotel, and then he came to know he was actually browsing cell phone, and since there was no internet connectivity, that is mobile connectivity, he was using hotel's internet. And after browsing for some time, he went for some quick bites in the restaurant. And while looking at something on the television in the YouTube, when the video changed, if you notice, video change automatically in the playlist. There will be account logged in information will be visible on left or right top with the picture of the person who has logged in. And that time he noticed that it is account of his logged in on that TV. How? Because that cell phone that he was using having the internet connection, which is also not so secure, and that account got compromised, and that same data was shared on the TV, and the TV had same data available on, I mean, connected to the same information. So you see, a small mistake, you go and you post something, you want to share with everybody, I'm here, I'm there, and what can happen with you. Just a small example. But yeah, with that, this is just not just about remote work and the challenges that we may face. It's also about automation and AI impact. Now, with AI increasing its footprints more and more, it is coming into almost everything we use. Even in WhatsApp, we have AI, right? Word, PowerPoint, I mean, what not that is not there in AI? I mean, if there is no AI in something, then the customers are demanding that we want something around AI. But with that, there is something called ethical consideration that comes into a picture. When I say ethical consideration, one need to make sure that the AI model is trained properly. It's not a biased. I'll give you example about a bias AI models later on. But yeah, that is one more challenge that is coming or will be coming to us when it comes to this revolving workspace. So now let's look at what different kind of cybersecurity challenges that we will face. One, remote work vulnerability, something that two examples I have already given you. Apart from that, a lot of us are getting emails such as some prompting or some sweet messages or email, you want something like this, or there is urgent need of money, and then some name of relative. And when it comes to work, you may receive a whaling attack side of email. That means a peer of your or head of your or manager of yours will be sending you email, which is actually not a email sent by that person, but actually it's a trap. And if as soon as you click on that link, you are already in the part of the game to get compromised. And slowly and gradually, everything will be compromised. So with the surge of this remote, I'll say ransomware attacks and all, that is increasing. That is not a surprising part, I'll say, because we are going into more flexible world. More the security needs to be taken care into consideration. Less we think, more we are in trouble. That's a simple way to put it. Data privacy. Uh, with all of this, it's become very important that we think of the sensitive data that we need to take care. We, whenever we go in mall and then there is somebody is approaching us saying, sir, please fill up this form. It's just take your name and cell phone number. And then after 15 days or something, you start receiving so many calls. Do you need home loan? Do you need personal loan? Do you need finance? You want this, you want that. What is it all about? Connect the dot. You'll come to know. It's because that to get some gift of 100 200 rupees in the mall, you filled one form and it's going there. You do know the cost of the data that is actually a valid authentic data, that is your information. It starts from 0.25 paisa per record. That's how cheap it is. And whenever we become or our data become compromised, uh, the hackers put that on the dark web, and it's available for a very very low cost, millions of data, right? Third is about supply chain attack. Now, what is supply chain attack? You may think that maybe not applicable to me, but something that is applicable to you when you are a developer, or you are a tester, or you are creating a software or a product which is being used by your customer. So basically, when we use a third-party package, DLL, or something similar, they may also can be compromised. And end of the day, when you deliver something which may be created by someone else, but as it's part of your product deliverables or your software deliverables, it becomes your responsibility to make sure that is secured. So a lot of time, open source comes with some TNC. We have to keep our eye open. And last one is about threat from AI and ML. Now, recently, and I have kept the link on the bottom, there is a surge of particular type of attack patterns where AI scripts are being, or say AI generated attacks are being targeting certain websites to break its functionality. That's one way of attack. Another, with the use of AI and scripts, attackers are also doing DDoS attacks on the websites to take them down. So uh, the technology is not just available to you exclusively. You have to remember that the technology is also available to the malicious users, those with having mindset of breaking something to gain something, or to maybe just damage someone, or even a country or a nation. So yeah, there is always both sides that we have to look for. Moving on. So what are the different ethical consideration that comes with this digital age? So yeah, AI and bias part. So over here now, I would like to give that example which I talked previously. Um, Suppose there is a municipality or a government body on a particular region wants to know that in the month of June, what kind of disease generally spread, say in the region of, let's take name of Pune, keep starting with small part of it. In say in Pune, a particular area, what kind of disease spread more? Now, to get these statistics, there are multiple ways. Previously, this could have been done by manual operations. But with the use of advancement of technology, we may feed this information in some application software, etc. And then later on, it is also possible to train AI model to feed this data and predict that this time, this month, after this particular temperature hit, we may get this disease in this region. But if my data only consider people from age of say 25 to 45, and I'm not thinking about the people below age of 18 and people above age of 60, will my AI model precisely predict that yes, people from this region will be always suffer from this particular disease? No, because I have left certain age type people and I have not considered everybody when it comes to considering the data to be fed to my AI model to predict precisely. That means reducing the probability of uh, error, I will say. So yeah, that is one part of AI, that AI model needs to be trained with all sort of data and all possibility of information. Otherwise, it can become bias. Next one is about privacy and surveillance. So in privacy, I would like to give you, and I'm trying to go as much example ways as I can, so that you are able to connect and you are able to relate more. Otherwise, reading out a definition is not a big deal. But if you are able to connect and understand in your day to day, you will be able to remember it for a longer time. Now, balancing privacy is very important. That what does that really means? Whenever you go on a particular website, you fill out your lot of time we go on certain website, register ourselves, put out our cell phone number, addresses, etc., etc. Do you know where that data will be used later on? We don't know, right? We use some social media platforms. They use our address and notifications. Certain apps on your cell phone knows precisely where you are, what you are doing. They know how much time you spend where. Do you know where that data will be used? Maybe not, if you are not reading out that policy and terms and conditions. So the end user, they need to be aware that where their data will be used. What if I tell you that for example, you are going to a laboratory or something and you are giving out a sample of your blood to just basic normal blood routine check or maybe sugar check. But what if that lab use your blood sample to do certain research of that particular blood type, and that will be used for further more analysis on something which you are totally unaware of? Will you be happy with that? Your sample was used in research, but that was not being consider even discussed with you, and even your consent was not taken. That should not be the case, right? So that is why privacy is very important, and that is one of the major reason why we have a lot of acts coming out. That means GDPR, HIPAA, PCI DSS, and a lot more, I will say. And third one is about AI with environmental impacts. Now we know that AI is doing this and that and etc., etc. But then do we also know that about its carbon footprints? I will say, when we say sustainable technology and green IT initiative, how much of the AI is producing day to day? Like if I say a large hyperscale data center of AI, it actually needs around 100 megawatts or more power to run properly that particular AI data center, I'll say, and which is equivalent to giving electricity to around 3,50,000 to 4 lakhs of electric car. You know, that different, I mean, just map it. And this is about electricity part. How about water? So that similar size of average data center will need around 3 lakhs gallon of water per day, which is just to keep itself cool basically, and which is equivalent to around giving water to around 1 lakh home. And this is not me saying. There are statistics and links available in the presentation from where the data is coming, and there could be many more sources. But yeah, this is something that we have to think as well, along with usage of all of this technology. Now, let's get into ethical part. Let's focus on our topic, that is cybersecurity and practices. So first, privacy by design. So when I say privacy by design, so building privacy into your day-to-day, when we say in the previous sessions and in other discussion also, when we have seen those DevSecOps, test DevOps, and a lot of other stuff, we also need to have Dev PRAV SecOps. Now, what is that PRAV? That stands for privacy. Why privacy? Because privacy is something which cannot be considered afterthought. Like security, if privacy is all given as an afterthought, lot of time there could be lot of rework. There could be miss of a particular implementation which should have not have been done in a particular way, which is already implemented. At the same time, when you have privacy by design, you understand what is the sensitive data, where in my application or a product or a software sensitive data is coming from, and how I can minimize the collection of those data and storage of those data. So we will go in more detail when it comes to privacy by design. Next is about zero trust. That means do not trust that you see, basically, and try to do as many validation as we can. We will go in more detail when it comes to zero trust as well. Encryption and access control. So basically, wherever there is a sensitive data that is uh, stored or handled, we need to have encryption in place. Strict access control, or I'll say role-based access control, RBAC, needs to be implemented to handle those. It is indirectly getting into zero trust architecture as well, that we will see in some time. Transparency and accountability. The example that I give you about your blood sample, that's part of transparency. You should have been uh, told before already that yes, we are going to use your blood sample to be further processing of such research. That's transparency. When you sign up on a particular website, you should be given a proper information, a consent about where, what, and how your data will be stored, used, and etc. If that is missing, that's not a transparency. Ethical hacking and human-centric security. Ethical hacking means once you produce something, you need to consider getting that particular software penetration testing done, either within your organization or outside, but it is essential because that will help you to identify those vulnerability which you may have missed within your regular DevSecOps cycle, or that will be, I will say, it's kind of implementation of more shift left, because you are finding them within your development lifecycle rather than relying later on where from production it is coming. So have your ethical, I'll say, penetration testing done on your software that you are creating. Now, when I say human-centric approach, basically designing a user-friendly security solution, that is one thing. Having a prioritization of user experience while implementing security is also very important. I remember, I will not take out the names, but there are certain websites where I log in, I have to enter OTP. If I perform certain transactions, I have to again enter OTP. For each and every transaction, even for a minimum amounts, I have to enter OTP. It's somewhere not user friendly, but that does not mean we take out a OTP part, right? We have to think that what at the end of my end user will be comfortable with. At the same time, we are implementing the security. So we have to balance the things out. And overall, end of the day, decision making should be done by the user and not some AI models. That's very important. And second, last one, responsible use of AI development. So it's all about ethical part, transparency, what are you implementing, and how that particular AI module or implementation will be handled within your software should be known to the end user. The AI model should not be taking decision making end of the day. That should be left on the user. It should be suggestion based, I will say, and not a decision part of it. So yeah, now as I mentioned, let's go in detail when it comes to zero trust architecture first. So what do you mean by zero trust? As I already said, do not trust on your end user device or application that is there. Nothing is trusted, basically. That's the approach you should be keeping. And the key principle of zero trust is on the screen right now. So never trust, always verify. I have seen a lot of websites having bulk of validation when it comes to screen itself. But as soon as I bypass the UI on the server, there are hardly any validation. Let me give you one simple example. I have tons of validation on my user login dialog, which says user password must be this and that, at the rate is missing in your email address, etc., etc. But if I have a software in between residing my client to server, so it's very easy. There are a bunch of software. You just grab the call that was going to the server while you hit the save button or submit button. You modify the data in middle, that is man in middle attack, and you submit the data on the server. It could be API or it could be direct services. What will happen? Your server validations are missing. That means does not matter. My client side validation says your email address is right or wrong. It is missing on password strength. You cannot use one character password. If I am not having any server validation, I can directly submit those by just grabbing the request as a man in middle attack using certain third-party softwares, and I can post it on server. One more example quickly. I have also seen a lot of time API development when we are doing, or even services that we are developing. We are not implementing properly RBAC, role-based access control, because the user having no authority to perform particular operations, they are being handled properly on the UI only. But if from same user token, if I again perform a man in middle attack, modify the data, that is integrity of my data is already violated. And what I'm doing is I'm performing certain operations that I am not supposed to allow, but via software that is middle, residing in center. For example, if you are going on Amazon and submitting an order which is costing you $100, you are having this software in middle, you make it $1 and post it on server, and server had no validation. So you buy that product on $1. It's like that. Your server must have validation of those nature. Otherwise, you are not having a complete, I'll say proper security implementation in place. Having least privilege access. What does that really mean? Basically, many times we run our softwares in highest mode, that is admin mode, on the machine, on the client user, on the end server. That must not be the case. Even I will say for websites, when we host them on the IIS, we must create a separate app pool and a set of user and configure them properly with the least privilege possible to run our application. One of the major reason. What if your application having a loophole in one of the area where user can come and post a JavaScript that is performing an SQL injection or something similar, which temper your which can go on the server, download a exe file from their server to that machine and execute, because you are having full access to their website. That is possible. If you are not thinking, this can happen with your software. So run your product in minimum uh, require set, I'll say, permissions, that is. And always, or I'll say must, you must not use SA user for accessing SQL Server related data. This is SA is for SQL Server. Likewise, there are default user for many other databases. We must not use them. We must have our custom and minimum set of permissions to be given. Micro segmentation. So dividing the network into a small set. Why it is? Because once we divide our network into small set, it becomes very easy for me to understand what is going wrong in which area of my network. Second, if one part of my network is infected by some attack, I can directly disconnect that portion only, and I can prevent that attack to be spread further in my network. That is also another reason why we need to have a segregated or say smaller set of network implemented, and at least the sensitive data part that must be on the separate network, or the application or a server having more probability of getting attacks because it's maybe public facing. that need to be on the separate network. And last, that was about monitoring your network traffic. If you know that daily around 100 users per minute will come and give a hit to your application, and suddenly you see a spike of 1,000 user giving a hit to your application within 1 minute, that's abnormal. You need to monitor it. You need to see that what's going on. And if there is a particular set of pattern that is observed, then you need to take appropriate actions. So that is part of key principle of zero trust, I will say. How to implement? Many of the things we already discussed, so we'll not go in detail, but some of them I'll give you again clarity. First one we already discussed, identity and access management, having strong authentication method in place, strict access control, continuous monitoring. All three we just go through. Device security. Now that means that whenever there is some nature of device integration, and it's also about server and hardware that we are using, we need to make sure they are secure. Lot of time I have seen lot of us having a habit of just turn off our the laptop screen, and again next day I'll just turn it. I mean, I'll never shut down basically. That's not good. Also, you never update because you may have 1,000 window open. That is also not good, because you are end of the day somewhere allowing that unethical user to enter into your area. Somewhere down the line, they will find that particular compromise path if the security updates are not installed. We regularly install updates on our cell phones. Then why not on your machines? We have to think about it. It's not just about what machines, by the way. It could be also related to certain hardware, printers, and their BIOS, etc. So we have to think of all of those part as well. Network segmentation. We just discussed about it. Sensitive network needs to be kept separate. Micro segmentation of our isolation of networks, and then having those policies regularly reviewed. Data protection. Basically, we must not just think about data that is in motion or in rest. When I say data in motion, that means the end user, when my client submits the data that is sensitive, when it comes to your server, you may have that entire channel HTTPS, but your database is not encrypted. You are storing that sensitive data in plain text. That's not good. You need to store sensitive data first, minimum, second, encrypted. Third, lot of time we are taking backups of those data. We are having many cloud service provider taking regular backups. We need to make sure the backups are also secure. If they are taken on the hard drives or some tapes or some magnetic tapes, we need to make sure that they are physically secured. That may not be your responsibility, but you need to make sure there is a control in place. And you are validating that at least once a year that yes, the physical backup that was taken last time is actually working. Otherwise, someday you are compromised and you have never tested that your backup is working, you will be in double trouble. You don't know then what next to be done. And the last one is about continuous monitoring and analysis. So yeah, all of these are implementation steps of, I'll say, at least fundamental part of zero trust implementation. And what this will give you: enhancing security, improve visibility. Security enhancement, we obviously, it's understandable by taking all these steps, so not getting into detail. Improve visibility. So you know what is going on where. The last point, monitoring and analytics. So you can take better decision making, that this network has some problems or some action needs to be taken here, etc., etc. Increase agility. Now, since you have already designed the entire thing in such a manner that if tomorrow you need to switch from one area to another, there is flexibility because you are aware of end-to-end working of your pattern, right? And compliance perspective. You have actually directly or indirectly followed the compliance or regulatory needs that is required to implement. Going forward, privacy by design. Now, privacy by design, these are the key principles: proactive but not reactive. Like uh, privacy is something which is a fundamental rights of human. That means that it is not something that we are given as we should be giving as it as an option or optional. It's something called privacy. if somebody start taking your cell phone and look into the things that you are doing, that's actually getting into your privacy space, right? Likewise, for our software also, there is something called privacy. For our end user also, there is something called privacy. You need to keep them informed what you are doing with their data and how that data can be handled, who can control, who can do what, and when they are going to be disposed. They should have that visibility. You need to have a privacy as a default setting. That means that you are having your requirement implementation in such a manner that you are uh, implementing privacy first by default, and second, you are minimizing the sensitive data collection. One of the point that we also saw during security design principle implementation. Privacy is embedded in your day-to-day. That means having Dev PRAV SecOps implemented effectively, and security by design. So strong security measures should be in place. So once you take care of security, indirectly you are also covering into privacy aspects in lot of sense. There could be certain areas such as GDPR specific implementations, for example, or HIPAA specific implementation, or PCI DSS for payment gateway industry implementation. You may need to take care. That could be some part of it, but maximum is taken care. Like I'll say 60-70 ratio, 60-30 ratio, something like that, right? So how to take care about privacy by design? One that we already discussed, data minimization. If you don't need it, don't store it. That is very important. Lot of time, and remember recent, I'll say at least 2-3 years ago, maybe long, but the government has given a deadline to all these merchants and online I mean, data seller or item seller, whatever we call them. Uh, if you are storing credit cards, you need to first dispose the data. Second, take a user consent and then store data according to the guideline that they have published. So even though now, as of today, if you go on some new website and if you start to go for a payment, that you will be asked, do you want to store your data according to the blah blah guidelines of something? Why? Because you are not supposed to store data if it is not required for you, but you are actually then without that also, if you are on to store, there needs to be some protocol, some guideline that needs to be followed, right? You need to define that purpose, why you are storing the data, why you are collecting that information. That needs to be clearly stated to the end user. Not I mean, I'll say not you, but end user of your software or of your product. You need to make sure that that particular data is accurate, complete, and it is related to them. It's not tampered in between whenever you are storing such data. Whenever they want to retrieve it back, they should have that accessibility. You need to have a proper safety mechanism in place to protect that data from unauthorized access. For example, I told you, if you are taking daily cloud backups, or if you are taking any magnetic disk or drives take backup, you need to make sure that all of those backups are secure and encrypted. Even on the offline backups, the backup must be taken in encrypted format when it is coming to a sensitive data, right? User privacy controls. So provide your user about what they want to be stored and what they do not want to. Whenever they want to modify or delete, they must have that data and information with them. Conduct regular privacy risk assessment, PIA. Basically, that is something will give you visibility about how many risks are present within the implementation that you are doing, and then how we can mitigate them, or do we want to mitigate or transfer the risk based on your internal processes. You need to continuously monitor all of this and change in your day to day based on the outputs that you find, basically. And how this will help you, basically it's enhancing your overall secure trust when it comes to your software end user, reducing the legal risk. That means less likely you will be getting sued. You may have seen in the news, very recent news, I think, that popular social media platform was being, legally challenged with millions and billions of dollars, right? Why? Directly or indirectly, something is happening which is violating the country policy, right? You need to be aware where you are operating. You need to aware that what is the local policies tells. You need to make sure you are implementing that properly. Improving your reputation. When you are doing all of this that was just being discussed and said, your customer will be actually very happy. They'll spread the happy words about you. That improves your organization reputation in the market. And then competitive
So
advantage.
sorry, Yagneshwar. Sorry to interrupt. How many slides are?
Uh, Last two. After this, actually, I'm going on the takeaways and conclusion. Yeah,
Okay, okay.
thanks. So, yeah, what are the takeaways? If you go for a recap, lot of challenges when it comes to evolving workspace, cybersecurity threat, ethical considerations, and then practices and future of work. Call for an action, prioritizing security in your organization. Invest in cybersecurity training and awareness. Foster a culture of security and ethics. Stay informed about what is going on in trends when it comes to cybersecurity and threats. Consider having collaboration with the industry experts and peers so that you do not have to reinvent the wheel all the time. With that, I'll say future is both exciting and challenging. We have to consider and find our path, which is right for us, and practice. I'll say cybersecurity. If practice is effectively implemented, if we follow that path, then it will be really, I'll say, bright future to be implemented. And together we can only achieve this. Having it ethically or digitally, both part, we can connect. Better world of tomorrow. We can handle that way. I mean, effectively. Yeah. And yes, I think that's the last. So with
Thank
that,
you, Yagneshwar.
over to you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was a wonderful session.